Recording in progress.
All right, we are now recording. It is 7 o'clock, and this is the May 13th meeting of the Village of North Bennington Board of Trustees. So to start our agenda, we have in the public, attending by Zoom, Bob Maderos and Robert Novak, both residents of the village. Catamount TV or Access Television is also on Zoom, as is Matthew Patterson, trustee. That does leave a quorum of trustees with 4 of the 5. Madeiros. Okay, we have a note taker. Also in the audience, we have Ed, Corey, and family. So there are a couple of amendments to the agenda. First is that there is no late parent status update. Alyssa will come and tell us about that at another meeting. We are adding 2 matters for executive session. There's a legal matter and a personnel. So we will add those 2 in there. The other thing is that Mark Boudreau will be stopping in, and he has a quote for the skate park that he'll be talking to us about. So Corey family, what is the purpose of what section of this agenda would you like to comment on? Okay. If all is okay, can we allow that to go now? Nobody has a problem. We'll do that in place of Alyssa. All right, please. The floor is yours, Mr. Corey. Okay. Certainly, wherever is comfortable.
Hi, I'm Ed Corey. I'm here to present information on a site visit 40 acres, May 29th, 1 p.m. We're a great opportunity to say what we've done since buying the land when I was 19. We did it all over there, living a dream. Ran water main, like the Samsung, put in road, blacktops, built 4 houses, and ended up with a perfect location in the village. But nobody knows where we're at. I did meet with Mary Rogers one night at the depot, and she said to me, "You don't have a clue of what's going on, do you?" 2 years later, still none of it makes any sense. We have always tried to build the best and conform to zoning. We build all the buildings with proper permits, and for the 28 by 64 story building for equipment. After 18 years later, village wanted to change it. They tried to take Margaret's apartment. The site visit will include a pond, which we own and did state permission to do work. Somehow the village attorney said, even if I didn't sell buffer rights, North Bennington took it from us eminent domain. I'm happy to show all the site visit. I know Chris Damon can come under Title 34. The sheriff will be present, and if Chris Damon acts the way he did when we were planting the trees, yelling, waving arms, running around like a madman, giving the middle finger, he will be on our property and get arrested. Let's make the site visit calm and peaceful and dismiss hate. And then I've got all the information.
I would say that some of what you say probably should be supported by fact and not fiction.
I can support everything by fact. I can't put it. And I did one for everything. There's one for Mary Rogers.
Just leave them right there. We'll get to them later. We're not going to read them at this meeting, but we have a whole file of your documents.
That's all. That's all for the site visit.
That's fine.
The date and time of the site visit. So
just so you know, we follow the law and we follow what the judge's orders are. We do not make them up. And we do not make them up, nor do we interfere with the legal process. So we
They're
look,
not
I'm
ours.
sure we as you look forward to,
Margaret would like to see.
please do. Are you comfortable, Margaret?
She's more comfortable saying it.
Okay.
Okay. I am Margaret. Yeah. Hi, I am Margaret Corey. After being hospitalized for 6 months, it was great to be able to come back to my small apartment and big garage where we store our equipment. It took several months to put a new blacktop to make it easier for me to walk back and forth from the house to the apartment. Here is the envelope in the bag here with $5,000 in cash, which is the first payment of 4 in compliance with the judge ruling. He signed it on May 8th. Can I have a receipt for this? Hope this is a start to dismiss the case and not to be brought up again anytime. I want to live in peace and quiet and not have someone like Chris David watching me hang up my clothes. Thank you.
We will issue you a receipt. Was there anything else that anybody wanted to say? Otherwise, we'll resume our agenda. Yes,
They keep going on changes of things that could have changed with the little girl going over Lake Karen.
we don't have, we can't,
No, I'd
We
like
don't
to
have-
just read my changes. They should never have a trustees meeting in the camp at the same time.
what is
Like
this,
there-
just an
No
opinion?
children in the water.
Is this your opinion on what? I'm not following what
Have
you're
a
doing.
follow, Chief.
Okay, so these are your opinions on what the Lake
Changes
Parent,
to make. If they
The Lake
didn't have a
Parent-
trustees meeting.
we don't
they
interfere.
can't at the same
The
time.
Lake, the Lake Parent Organization and the village are two
No, but
separately
The
different.
trustees meeting camp was going on at the same time. Would you admit that?
I couldn't tell you. It's so
It
long.
was. The trustees started meeting at 10 o'clock, the camp started at 9 o'clock
Trustees, what
Yeah.
trustees need it?
in the meeting.
Who? We did, this trustees?
Yeah. That's board of trustees. Why not?
I was
Look
at
it up.
camp. I
You
did.
This
mean-
board of
You
trustees
mean
don't,
the Lake Karen board?
No.
no,
I
this,
mean, this board of trustees,
this-
you met with the state. Right here in this building.
I was
I-
working my own summer camp. so
Okay.
I wasn't in it.
we,
No, with
whatever,
That, and then
whatever.
our emergency management officer should have took control over Red Meyer, expired.
Well,
Should have been about saving the little girl.
That's-
Who was in there. There's
that's,
the
that's-
information, you can read it.
no, thank you. Your
Yeah.
opinions are your opinions.
No,
They're
that's
not
okay.
fact.
Look it up.
Whatever. Okay. All right, so we will issue a receipt. Thank you for that. Thank you for your attendance. And we will continue with our agenda. The next item is to review and approve the minutes of April 8th. Those had been sent before and then just, again, I know, just the other day. So does,
That's fine.
Okay.
if
So
we can
receipt.
hear, did any trustee have any issue with the minutes?
Or
I didn't.
Okay,
Negative.
first page
Motion?
before.
I'll move that we accept
okay.
April 8th.
Yeah.
25, meeting of this board.
And I'm happy to second that. All in favor?
First payment.
Aye.
Okay. Tara, I assume you, okay, so we're all
I'm
good
gonna
with
be
that.
focused on this.
All right. The next thing is usually looking at our warrant and payment bills, so we will hold off on that. until Doug is free. But in the meanwhile, we have Mark who walked in, Mark Boudreau, and please come up here so that there's less noise.
I think I came in here and mentioned a couple of issues with the skate park.
Yes,
One of them was the center piece of equipment has sunk a little bit. So as
I don't know, maybe today's made her.
center platform, there's a lip on
Yeah.
blacktop. So I talked to Ventroni who did the blacktop. He said it's not an easy fix, and he was working on trying to gimmick up some kind of a piece of equipment that could take care of it. And he said it would probably be worth very pricey, not worth. Might
You
not
brought
be-
this, you're telling me this is the
So in the
first
meantime,
payment
I got a
of
hold of
order
the grant company
5/8
to put it in.
25. You're right.
So American Lamp Company. That's the company who went through the skate park.
$5,000.
They reached out to me just last.
That's me signing
by
here.
them.
You're gonna sign, well, he's going to sign.
They
here.
said the simple fix was put a center extension in that platform. and
I
just
can't
put
put
it
that
out.
because I don't have the order. in front of me, so
a little bit lower. Sorry.
I'm thinking that this is the first.
By adding an
I can't
extension.
tell how many-
It'll push both
So you're telling
sides
me this is the.
of that center platform past where the issue was. I'll take care of
I'm not a trustee of the
Um,
village.
it. And the skaters through the,
Right, for Bennington, I'm not a trustee,
line,
I'm the treasurer.
Yes.
I mentioned.
So I'm telling you, I'm saying,
Half pipe.
what was the treasurer?
The way it's constructed now. as you
Hey,
know,
y'all,
Yeah,
It's kind of.
I make nothing of it.
hold on. What's that, Matthew?
I can't hear a thing until,
Okay.
uh,
All right, then we'll just pause. Okay,
Village treasurers. I mean, makes,
maybe they can take it outside.
I'm the builder.
I don't know that
there's nothing else.
you weren't coming through any.
These buildings have-
So now you're coming into the hour, no one else could hear you. Now you should be good.
Extension to fix it, but covering the edge.
So I'm going to sign this as the village treasurer, I added North Bennington.
Like, they actually in your hand.
To the builders.
I'm saying it's receipt, that's exactly what it says right here.
I've got that here.
Okay.
It's,
When I sign this, I'm telling you.
it's a
this,
preliminary.
that's-
This is
So
good
if we're-
theater.
They didn't include
Yeah.
those in it.
Okay.
So it's basically just,
I'm gonna sign, you're gonna sign, right below your name.
it's basically just to see if we can drop,
Copy, and you're gonna.
if there's interest in moving and if there's money available.
If you want to.
Let me see if Norm is able to.
Because I'm typing.
So that's equipment only. And I'll explain what it is.
Is this something that our highway could do? No, okay. Okay.
I think we all said everything.
Yes.
So.
I think.
He's being, I think it's just.
Yeah.
So the other was a suggestion that in the half pipe,
Yes.
there's a ramp that enters from that other piece of equipment and then the half pipe ramp.
Yeah.
Where that meets up top, it's not a solid platform, it's a platform with a rail that kind of divides the two. So as you come in, it's a short landing to the railing. They can also put an extension on that, just make a bigger platform
You have yours?
on the top. So it's a bigger area, so more kids could actually go up and land safely.
Thank you.
Is that, yeah, like, is that a sturdier fix or will that separation happen?
Oh, no, it's just an add-on. So
Oh,
it's basically,
okay.
it's basically building blocks. They're gonna take the railing that's on there now off. They'll put a new block in, it'll be an extension to what's there, and then the railing will go back up, so it's, all these things are like, they're like kids' building blocks, they just,
Okay.
they put them in, they screw them all together, so. It's, it would be as if they built it that way to begin with.
Okay.
The quote they sent me, just because again, they were just gauging interest, is basically just for materials. The other issue was the platforms themselves and the equipment, the pipe especially,
Okay,
over time wears out. And it's supposed to be kind of a gripping, and now it's basically like a sheet of ice. You're on it. So it's just not as good they can still ride it, they still use it, it's fine, but it does become a bit of a hazard, especially if you're not an accomplished. What's that? Especially if it's wet. Exactly. So another thing we added into that was they'll come and they'll repaint everything, they'll paint the skate surface and the outsides.
In that estimate?
So it's in here, yep.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so the total estimate would be about 14,455. That does not include labor. They couldn't include labor until they actually figure out when, because things are so crazy right now. So if we think we want to move forward, I would just reach back out to them and they'll put together a more formal. So the equipment, so the two extensions, the one extension to the half pipe platform, the one extension to that center piece of equipment, and a resurfacing painting for everything, material only, would be $14,455.29.
14,000.
I'm guessing labor is gonna be at least half that again. So probably, if I had to guess, it's gonna be between 25 and 30. total.
That was that.
If I'm reading it right,
Oh, without labor.
because this is without labor.
Oh, okay.
Well, he says probably half of the 14.
It'll be half again. So
Half
I'm
again.
guessing it'll be between
He's just
7,
guessing.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm guessing it's probably gonna be 7,000. They've gotta
Yeah.
send
Okay.
people here. It's gonna be a team.
There's.
They're gonna have hours. Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just guessing.
so.
But it can't hurt to move forward to get a formal.
No. And what do we have?
So here's where we're gonna run into a little bit of the
Okay.
issue. So the park reserve right now. Just over 41,000.
Yep.
We know there is going to need to be fund used to finish up Welling. Part of that is going to need to be finished well, because we're gonna go over what was left for ARPA.
Okay,
Which we knew going in.
Yep.
To Welling. So I don't think we would go over, and I'm probably overestimating, but without Norm here, and I don't think he's got everything pinned down, I would say we probably want to earmark 20 to be safe to finish Welling,
okay,
with what we have left for ARPA.
sure.
So that would leave 21, which would drain the parks reserve. I'd leave a little in there to, to keep
Sure.
the account.
Yep.
So I would say for the project itself, we probably have to try to come in under 20 or
Well,
thereabouts.
now Mark did say, did you not say that the Lions?
So the Lions have $2,000
Okay,
right now. The original thought was, because it's kind of a quick, easy thing and I can actually do it. Is order the wood chips that need to be replaced under some of that equipment. But if we think we're that tight with that, I've been talking to Kevin Lynch.
Now, what
He's kind of
about,
he's
yeah.
been kind of the go-between between he and no one.
What about our regular budget? I mean, we
That's
still
what I'm
have,
working on.
we have 6,000 in that regular budget, and then we have offset somewhat by the town of Bennington's allocation.
right, but I do think
When does the town of Bennington, when does that?
so we already
We've already
have
got
it for
it.
this fiscal year,
Gotcha, yep.
yes. Yeah, they send it, I think,
Well, this would more than likely be for next fiscal year, because it's not gonna be done before
Okay,
July 1.
well, then I think then if we say it's gonna be after July 1. And we do that, would you say that there probably won't be any other parks work for next year, or would we still need to save some money for parks work next year?
There's nothing
Because
on the
Welling,
horizon. Welling should be done.
right,
It's basically those are the two big things right now.
because that would give us another 11
Mhm.
in next calendar,
Right.
next fiscal, because we would get the 6 from Bennington, and we have either 5 or 7,500.
it looks like we have about 8,000 left for the year on the budget.
Because we're already through May.
Right.
By the time we get another
Right.
quote, we're
Right.
now into June meeting,
But the 8
we
there,
approve
though,
it.
the 8 there though is definitely gonna have to go to Welch for this year.
Oh, okay, okay,
Or, I mean, it's one
whether
way or
it's-
the other.
exactly, okay.
So yeah, so if it's definitely gonna drift into next fiscal, I think then we probably would have closer to 30.
Well, we can make it drift.
Yeah,
Cause I mean, I can't imagine I'd get the bid, you're gonna vote on it next meeting.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So you gotta get on,
Halfway
you
through
gotta book it, so I wouldn't
Now,
imagine. it's gonna happen.
once, if there was a bid and accepted, even if it was some months later, that price would still be the same, or are we looking at something that,
Well, I would certainly, before we book it, it's gonna, the quote they give is good for 30 days.
okay,
So if they send me something next week, that's good until,
for
The
30
June
days
meeting.
that we do that, but that's not 30 days to get all the work done.
right, but they wouldn't,
But usually if he commits to them and says, yes, they're not going to
Yeah.
change.
That, I guess,
And I will-
that's what I was thinking.
I
These
will make
days,
sure,
prices
yeah,
changing.
and I will talk to him about all those
Okay.
scenarios, realizing that they're the ones that are gonna be doing the work.
Yeah.
So they'll have all these, I mean, they'll have the numbers.
Is that the type of work that has to be done in a certain season? No, I know some of Norm's work has to be done in warm-ish weather.
No, because, say again, the painting,
might.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get it done before.
Okay,
yeah, you
Yeah.
need above 50 degrees.
Yeah, they won't, and this is it's a 2-part epoxy, which is why I figured, they said they could
It's
send,
epoxy,
yeah, they said they could
generates
send
its own
us.
heat, but you still need, about 50. I would
Sure, I mean, so the idea would be, I mean, if they're not gonna hold a bid till next, so they're gonna wanna do
They're
it
gonna do it this
August-ish, probably.
perfect.
So weather shouldn't be a concern.
say. How far are they traveling?
So that, I don't know, the company's, out of. Trying to think where it is now. Midwest somewhere,
Oh, okay.
But they, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's where their central company is, they could have satellite places all over, so that doesn't mean they're sending somebody all the way from there.
All
They
right,
could have a work crew that does the Northeast, they could have a work crew that does, so
Right.
I don't know that, I don't know the details to that, but. I could talk to him this week, he called me last week, so. But if I give you. If you just say it's okay to at least go ahead and get a formal, and what I'll try to do is. As soon as I get it in, I'll just email you so you can send it to
And then I can
everybody.
send it out to everybody. I
I'm-
don't know that we need a motion for that. What do you think? Because we've talked about doing this.
Because we're not
Just
spending
getting-
money
yeah,
yet.
just
Right.
getting the
Right, you need the motion when he has the final.
Yeah.
I'm okay with,
Matthew wants to say something. Go ahead, Matt.
okay with this idea, but holy crap. 22,000 for. I mean.
Oh, yeah. It's great, yeah, I mean, well, you can't change your tires anymore for less than $5,000, I feel like. No, yeah, it's, prices are prices,
How
Is
long
this a
will it-
proprietary, I mean, is this part of the people who installed the original thing and? it's
same
part of-
company, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, American Ram Company, same company, and they actually gave us a little over $1,000 discount.
yeah.
We got to that price after $1,000 was locked on.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same exact thing that's out there now, and that's been there since we put the park in. I can't remember how long it's been. 15
All
years.
those kids are
20
going,
years.
that's a 10 to 15 year life cycle.
Oh, God, yeah,
It's
that
huge.
stuff won't go anywhere, the only thing that's gonna break down is the paint, which
If
the
you
lamp
look at it
again.
that way, it's $1,000 a year.
But
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
it's,
like, I
Okay.
feel like the original cost of the entire system was about that. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
Yeah, I remember, I mean, the total project was 350.
But that's 15-year-old dollars too. So.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of changes.
yeah. No, prices, I'm done being shocked at prices.
Yeah.
Cause
Wow.
nothing surprises me anymore. Doesn't make me happy, but nothing surprises me.
well,
So
it
yeah,
makes
yeah, it can't hurt to get a bid.
it easier
something on
for people to, jack their prices when nobody's surprised anymore. I mean,
that. Yeah, you're right.
that-
Yep.
that's just the thing, but. Can,
Yes.
can our own crew apply the same paint?
Sure.
So probably yes. But if we've already got them here building the equipment. And these people do this for a living,
I get it.
I just hate to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll have him price it out as if we paint it and they paint it, and you guys can decide whether it's worth. And then you can tell Norm.
Yeah, right.
At this time of year, we have so many other projects going on that to try to
Yep.
save a couple of dollars or
Yeah,
even a few
Well,
hundred.
Yeah, those Kansas paint is not cheap.
oh, I can't imagine, yeah, I mean,
So,
they didn't break, so when they send me the quote, they'll break it down. They just told us it's basically two pieces of equipment and painting.
Yeah.
They didn't give me a line item on everything, so I can find that.
I don't believe
Paint, I'm
we
sure
should
it's
be
really
doing the painting. I don't believe we should be doing the painting.
Yeah, I think
personally.
not.
If it was a straight,
Yeah,
here's a can of paint and a roll of bag,
Yeah.
no,
but I mean, there's a sign, and you know what, I'm sure. Norm's great at what he does, I'm sure he could do it,
yeah,
but
but if we're looking,
it's a
it
process.
would be different if we're looking for projects to keep people busy,
yeah.
but we're not.
So, maybe you could buy some epoxy that's made for gym floors and put it on. And you could probably do that. Cheaper,
Mhm.
but somebody's gotta do the labor.
But then you've also got, I'm sure that there's probably some kind of a guarantee with this company with the paint. That will probably, it won't be long,
The
it'll probably, it
paint,
might be
the
like
paint
2 years.
itself would have some sort of warranty.
Yeah.
It's the application.
Right,
Yeah, and that's where you could end up, someone makes a mistake,
Yeah.
especially if it's gotta be measured fairly accurately.
and again, you know what, when they send this to me, I'll have them do line items on it, and if we say, you know what, we're only gonna do the equipment, we'll just do the equipment, and we'll worry about the paint some other time, that's up to you guys, I'll get the numbers put together, and then you guys can all take a look and see what's, I mean,
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a stick.
oh, not at all.
Fine, and you have and it seems like the money is there. Or will be, and it is a resource that is used by a number of kids.
I made it a point to drive by there when I was coming, there's probably 20 kids on there right now.
Yeah, so,
see $1 piece.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they can chip in something.
Yeah.
Won't amount to anything, but.
All right, I know you guys are busy, so I will, and I'll reach back out to Kevin and just say we're gonna
Yeah,
we're gonna get a little better detail on this before we do anything else, and then we may be able to use some of theirs to offset. And then if not, we'll go ahead and look at the chips
okay,
as well.
sounds like.
And I'll leave this with you
Yeah.
guys, and I'll forward you that email. I was printing it off, and I printed on the
I'll
crazy.
copy this for folks.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see
Appreciate it.
You too.
Thanks for all your work.
Yep.
Okay, now, we are a little bit behind, so normally which we should just stay in the order here. Norm was the one trying to call in with that unrecognized number, so we will just call him when we get to there. But let's move on to reviewing the warrants and payments of bills, so. Take that in any order you want, Doug.
I'll do payroll first.
I have all the copies.
Only 2 regular ones.
Okay. Payroll.
Okay,
So
so.
leave that little sticky on it.
Perfect. So payroll for the month of April was a normal payroll, 2 cycles and 1 Aflac. So the total is $14,124.59. Nothing out of the ordinary at all.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye. Matthew was an
Matthew.
aye as well. Matthew is also,
Okay. So
Okay.
there's that.
Wait, who seconded? Yeah.
right,
yep,
Okay, next I will take the late April 2025. That is for 5/20/51. And again, there really isn't anything,
Unusual.
unusual on there. Peckham is norm, for beginning to get the stone things for the project on Church Street.
Okay,
RHR Smith is a, progressive payment for
Yeah,
the
that's
two
the other.
audits. Yep. Blue Cross Blue Shield obviously is insurance, and then rock salt, that should be our last, payment for salt. So there's, again, nothing out of the ordinary on that one.
and E Naval is,
So that is, they were catching up on some billing. They were here when the auditor was here. They were here. They had to fix a couple other little
Okay.
things. So that bill had a few different small pieces that they were here for.
okay,
There are tech people.
Correct.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just need a motion on the late April.
I'll make a motion that we pay it.
And I'll second that one. Matthew's got a thumb up. That was a thumb up, not a question, correct, Matthew? Yes, okay. All in favor? Aye, all
So-
four, go.
Okay, there's that one. And the May warrant, is in the amount of 59,084.99.
Yeah, I totally missed that. Can you do that one more time?
Sure, 59,
Mm,
084.99.
Thank you.
The large items on this one is 19,150 to concrete impression, which is a 50% billing for the concrete sidewalks on Church Street. Once that project is done, so in June, we'll have a discussion about if we want to move some of the sidewalk reserves as part of that project. So that conversation will happen in June. New York Fire Equipment, Ed had ordered, I believe it was 3 sets of turnout gear. He is within his budget for that item, or for those items.
What all is in the turnout here?
That's the full head to toe. Remember, now each year we're buying X number of sets to replace them. So
Yeah,
it's
it
2 to 3
Seems like
sets
a lot
per
of
year.
money for 3 sets.
But
How many, that's for 3 men or 4 more?
3 men,
3 men,
full set, top to bottom.
okay.
Yep, I kind of like what Mark said, the price is the price. I mean, it's equipment that is what it is, and it obviously it has to be all.
Yeah, you're paying
Highly
for
rated.
certifications that this is
Exactly.
proper equipment.
Yep, exactly. Peckham, we already talked about, same
Yeah.
as in April, that's a lot of gravel and things Norm has been ordering. CL white glass, that was a window at the firehouse that had a crack in it. Ed had spoke to myself and Lori and had CL white come and replace the
Okay.
paint so that there was no further issue with it. Wilmington PC, that is actually, I spoke to the billing. Somehow there was a invoice from January that just kind of didn't get paid.
Oh,
And it never really cycled around, so Lori and I were paying bills as they came in, but the numbers were never quite matching up, so I called her. She sent all the open invoices, we looked them over, and the majority of it is from the legal issue that is being discussed. So that's why that is there, so that's not technically all from the last 30 days.
okay.
But this payment does bring that, there's no more money.
Nothing in arrears.
Correct.
Okay,
And they had actually just sent, which we paid, which would have gone on the late May. Lori and I said, let's just get it
Yeah,
on, so that is them in full.
good.
So that's all I have. Those are the couple, out of the ordinary ones.
What's their billing rate for Wilmington?
It depends on what they're doing. We get a statement at the beginning of each year that has the breakdown. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. It depends on the work. You know, if they're in court, if they're doing site visits, things like that.
Is some of
Or
this related to the judgment issue?
most of this is the legal matter. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're getting reimbursed slowly on that from
Well,
Mr. Cole.
there's a court order.
Yes,
Put it that way.
I know that. And that payment schedule is the way it is, 3 payments, so,
Whatever the court order had.
yeah, right.
And we'll get an update on, more on that at our
Mm.
executive.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
we just need a motion for the May warrant.
All right, I'll make the motion that we pay it. As stated, $59,084.99.
and I'll go ahead and second that one. And thank you for all the detail there.
Yep.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Good, we got another one done. Okay. So normally, now we would move over to the highway report, so let's call Ray and so,
Norm.
no,
Call.
Norm has to call here.
I don't know if he's gonna be able to, that's the problem. That's what he was saying, I'm not sure if he's able to call in. We might
Into
have
the
to
Zoom.
Just have him send an email.
Yeah.
Into the Zoom or into,
No,
He's
he's
having problems with his phone and with logging in,
got it.
Yeah.
so I don't know.
and he says he's calling from, not from his phone, so we'll see if he can call it. Meanwhile, I can tell you that if you have not seen the Church Street sidewalk, you should make a trip over to see it. It's really pretty phenomenal. It looks great,
Yeah.
and they have worked really hard making that a quality project. Norm had reported that,
I should go look.
yes, it's
Been
really
an
nice.
orchestration with the power companies and the poles and moving this and moving that and
Yeah.
going between this.
Fine, Norm. I'm gonna see if I can get you on speakerphone here.
Yeah, no, it's complicated.
Okay, let's see how good this, I can get my speakerphone here. So Norm is here on this phone. I'll hold you by the,
If you just put it in the middle, it should be
in the
okay.
middle, okay. Norm, I was just commenting that if folks had not seen the Church Street sidewalk, they should, because it's just a really phenomenally nice piece of work there. And, you've made everybody's yards the same, probably better in some cases than they were. And it's just, it looks really good. So thank you for that. Anything you would like to comment on? I know you said you might have a phone dying, so
Yes,
take it away, say whatever you want.
it's all, not really much. We're working on Church Street. Hopefully that'll be done here in a couple of weeks. The power company's done. The cable company was there today, and the phone, I believe, is notoriously slow. So that'll be the last ones we're waiting on. Hopefully we'll pour another big section of the sidewalk next week. And then we probably will move out for a little bit if we're waiting for the phone. We got that title of that junk camper. So
Oh,
we can rip that apart and get rid of that eyesore. We've put the lighted stop sign down in the corner.
okay.
That went up Monday, so that's been flashed for a couple days.
It's not intrusive in any way. At least I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think
good.
so.
Which corner?
Yeah. Across from
Bottom of
MGS,
Prospect.
bottom of Prospect.
Right.
Missed it. but-
So then other than that, we'll just go back to
Okay,
our regular maintenance. We got a couple grants we gotta deal with, and
Yeah.
then, our paver should be here the end of the month, so middle of June, and we'll get those couple roads done up and move forward.
and then I guess whenever you do your painting, we'll add that crosswalk up at Church Street. I mean, if school is out, may not be as heavily used, but when school gets back in, it'd be good to have that flash, that crosswalk light that we talked about over
Right,
there
yeah.
for the school and for the South Shire kids.
I think it'll
That's
get
a-
more use than you think. There's a
Oh,
lot of
maybe.
people that walk down Church Street.
Okay,
Are we talking about going across Bank?
Yes.
across
Yeah.
Bank, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
you're right, there are a lot,
hopefully that'll deter people from speeding down there.
yes. Just that
Yeah.
visual, and then that will, then at least that'll alert them to the other crosswalk, which I go across the one on School Street quite frequently. And you have to wave your arms for people sometimes to see you, so thank you for that. Anything on Welling right now, Norm?
No, just, no, I had to talk to, the contractor. Oh, yeah, so I guess I didn't send it in. We do have the price for the fence.
Oh, okay,
That's, I can email that to you tomorrow. I thought I sent it in, but I probably didn't. And,
No problem.
all
I'll
the grass
I'll
seed
share it.
here,
okay,
that showed up. That showed
Okay.
up today. That's what we actually needed some of that to plant the other lawn.
yeah,
So hopefully we got something worked out with our counterparts, to do all the, that plugging and raking in and stuff. That'll be next week, hopefully.
sounds good. Well, thank you so much. Any questions from trustees to Norm? Matthews, no questions from Matthew? Thank you, Norm.
Okay,
Thanks, Norm.
all right, thank you.
All right, take care. See you tomorrow, maybe.
Yep,
Bye.
okay, yep, bye.
Okay. So let's go back to Doug then.
Okay,
When I get that fence price, I'll share it with everybody.
What report is this?
treasurer's report.
Yeah.
This is the actual report, followed from the warrants.
Thank you.
So the overwhelming amount of time that I've put in through audits over the last 2.5 months has been through the roof. I have been working on three separate audits, one of which is actually 4 audits because it's 2 for water and 2 for the village. So hopefully the payroll audit through VLCT and the unemployment audit, and I may have the people mixed up who do them, to be honest with you, are both now complete. The financial audits are ongoing, but great progress has been made. I actually was emailing with one of the auditors earlier today before I came here, down to just a few items, going back and forth on clarifying and things. So she said we're in the right direction, lights at the end of the tunnel, so hopefully we'll be wrapping that, not that one, those 4, again, because it's 2 years for the village and 2 years for the water department, that are all going on simultaneously. So that has been, in a lot of time. Delinquent tax update right now, principal outstanding is a hair under 50,000, 49,664. There's only 12 parcels that have a full balance due, and there's only 2 parcels that owe more than a couple $100 on the prior year. And both of those have been made payments. One of them has made significant payments every month, and the other has been a little more sporadic. I am trying to get both of those to be cleared up by fiscal year end. I don't know that it will happen, but that's what I'm trying to work on for those 2. Then at some point in June, I'll have to make a decision if I'm going to be sending any of these to the attorney for further collection action.
Okay.
Because there are a number of those 12 that have had 0 communication with me. So I may have to,
Yeah.
and then I'll inform everybody of how many
Mhm.
parcels
Mhm.
we're gonna send to the attorney's office for further collection.
Do you know if any of those are also outstanding with our neighboring municipalities that we might share something with?
Yes, so I do know at least a handful of the ones that share Shaftesbury are outstanding with them too.
Okay.
I have not checked in with Bennington on
Okay.
any of the ones that would share a tax bill
Okay.
over there yet. Like I said, I'm kind of waiting to see.
Yeah, that's kind of what you do at the end.
Right, and then the ones for Bennington, we would kind of be in the driver's seat because ours is the primary
Mhm.
bill, whereas Shaftesbury, it's kind of the opposite. So yes, there are
Okay,
definitely a few of the ones that are outstanding for what we would be collecting for school tax for Shaftesbury one do have municipal due to Shaftesbury. ARPA reporting for the prior year was done today, so that is done. We will, the woman who I worked with today did say that we will probably likely have to report for 2 more years, even if we're done spending. She said, right now, there is no way to close it out.
okay,
She said she has municipalities that spent all their money 2 years ago and they still have to report. So we may have 2 more years of reporting, but it just, you're reporting 0 because you've spent all of your funds. This month, end of this month, beginning of June, I will fund the reserves for fiscal year 24-25. So that will all be done. Over the past 30 to 45 days, I closed the ARPA account, which we talked about last month. So those funds that were remaining are in operating, knowing that the last project is Welling Field, so we know where the money's gonna go. And then the audit reserve, I did close out last week because we have enough billing now. And then just as a reminder, going forward, that'll just be a line item now as opposed to a reserve. So there will no longer be an audit reserve because we will just budget for the exact amount that we have annually, because we're getting the annual audit. I had sent out the year-to-date budget. Mary and I spoke before the meeting. We're gonna meet early next week to get that updated. As you know, there's changes that have to be made, you know, little things here and there. So that will be done. And then at the June meeting, well, before the June meeting, I'll send that out and then we'll close out after June 30th. And then the last that I want to just bring up, we got a flyer for Sage City Symphony. They have a spring concert Sunday, May 18th at 4 p.m. And that is at the Bennington College VA/PA building.
That,
What is it?
that,
Okay,
And
I didn't know if they.
That's the way it's,
Yeah.
that's the way it's.
That
And
was-
just to shout out, if people have not taken advantage, they do a fabulous
Yeah,
concert.
no, that's,
And it's
What are they
free and
playing?
it's wonderful.
Let's see, it says Works from the New World.
so it's the.
Symphony number 9. Prelude, Dvorak, Gershwin, Copeland, Coleman, and Love.
Well, the Dvorak's beautiful,
So those are the ones they had listed on the flyer anyway.
and some of the other I don't recognize, but.
But they
Sure,
always
it'll
do
be-
such a good job.
Yeah.
And our own Mr. Novak, who is on our Zoom meeting with us, often plays with them, so shout out to
what's the
Robert.
date of it?
Sunday, May 18th at 4 p.m.
Thank you.
This coming Sunday.
Yes,
Correct.
it's
And
well
so
worth the
The
time.
timing worked out, that's why I wanted to make sure I brought that with me.
Good.
That's all I have for now.
Okay, well, you've been more than busy, it seems.
Yes, that's for sure.
Okay, and thank you for all of that, because if you haven't done what Doug has been doing, it's
Oh,
a yeoman's job, let me tell
Oh,
you.
it sounds like a nightmare.
It's, so thank you. Moving on, we don't have any late requests or anything from the fire department that I know of. The
No,
water department, not that either, other than the water department has put out their 2024 quality report, and that's on the website.
for my part on the fire department, I did get a chance to talk to Chief Ed, a couple of weeks ago, and, moving forward, we hope to have good lines of communication.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you on both sides,
We'll see.
yes.
Yes. and thank you.
DRB, is there anything to report on DRB?
There will be a meeting.
Meeting, which is
Next week,
Yeah,
the
it's next week.
20th, yeah.
20th?
Yep, 7 p.m.
I can't remember a date from here to there.
It's gonna be
Well, it's the
change-
13th today, so I'm gonna say the
Yes.
20th.
change in use,
Change in use.
and everything's been posted.
It's been posted. Yeah.
Agenda's
Yeah.
out.
The property adjacent to the writer's house, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Planning Commission. Some of this I will defer. Kim is at another meeting, a BCRC annual meeting, but he will come in and update us on a number of things there. But I will say that I sent out, because I forgot, so I sent them in a little bit late. But we are looking to update couple of our forms. Where did I put them in here? That I sent you guys.
That's the.
Oh, zoning permit. So the applications for the zoning permit and, this has changed a little bit to be a little more in line with, the fees that our surrounding municipalities charge. Chris has been tracking this draft, which went to the planning commission back in November, and Chris has been tracking what would have happened under the first draft of this versus the current fee schedule that we have. And we made a few tweaks because most of it was good, but there was the upper end of the scale on the more expensive projects needed to be increased a little bit.
I'm just reading.
So it just is it goes more now on the cost of the project versus having self-reporting with what somebody thought they might be spending. So this is a little bit more auditable, I guess. And as I say, it's very much in line with the other municipalities. The other one that there is a opinion of zoning compliance, that's basically the same thing that we had, just updated to make it a 2025 version. The other ones that we redid were the ones that Norm uses, which is when somebody wants to do work that gets into the municipal right of way. There was an application and a permit that Norm would issue and sign. Those permits and the application, it was just copies of copies of copies. There was no actual Word document that anybody could ever find. So we redid this, added some additional information such as there is now a zoning administrator approval or awareness of these, which previously there was none. And also it conforms in the permit language with what other municipalities do as well. So I don't know, well, I suspect because this is the board, we should have a motion to approve using the revised permits. If you did not get a chance or feel comfortable doing that because you haven't had a chance to look at these closely enough,
No.
we can defer
I
this.
think they
We'll
look
take your word
good.
for it.
Thank you, Matthew.
I'll second.
Okay, Matthew first.
I think that was that a motion, Matthew?
Yes, it was.
Right, saying
Yeah.
it was, okay. So
Adopt the.
adopt application for zoning, adopt 2025 edits of various zoning permits. Or zoning applications,
I
not
got you.
permits, applications. And we'll get them out on the website and get moving on that. The rest of the planning commission update will, oh wait, we didn't take a vote on that.
Hmm.
There was a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Always good to have the vote.
Yes. Ray, can we jump to your
Oh,
update?
sure. Well. Right. So here's the story, you know. It turns out our fire department is made other plans, so they won't participate. I talked to the Shaftesbury, one of the Shaftesbury assistant chiefs, who happens to be Ed Shule, who went to the school and also worked on the repair on the ceiling of the school. And he said, well, I don't see why we wouldn't. But then the chief was taking off for London, but he called him before he left the airport. And chief said, well, I'll be back next week, we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
So I have the marching band, but I don't have anything else. Although I think Ray Cox can probably pull
Yeah.
together something. I'm just thinking it's just not gonna work.
Okay,
And, I mean, it's partly my fault,
no,
but, I think it's gonna be too, it may not work at all, and I just don't think it's worth, messing around with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
people's schedules
well,
for that.
without other people to assist. I was kind of hoping maybe the round table could step in, but everybody gets busy at this time of year.
Well, you know, I didn't come up with a plan because I didn't understand where the route was and what time it was. It took a long time to get that information. I should have had it sooner. I should have called Ed directly, I suppose, but, Lori got a lot of that information for me, and I thank her for that. But, then I assumed that the fire department would at least know it was going to happen, you know, say, we're going to do it and commit to it, and instead they didn't. And, maybe arrange with the Shasberry Fire Department. So that's my mistake. But anyway, I think it's too iffy about getting it together. We need to have, Shasberry uses the sheriff's department for traffic control. We would have used our fire department for traffic control, because they do that around the village, but they're not going to be here. The other thing is, you know, we have to ask people, have to publicize it,
Mhm,
get some sort of a crowd,
mhm.
and get someone to read something at the park, which I could do.
Mhm.
I'm a pretty good reader. But I just think it's not gonna come off there.
Okay. So
So,
perhaps this is
There's
something. Yeah.
no point. Oh, Shaftesbury said, I spoke to Marlene Hall at
Okay.
Shaftesbury, and she said, well, you know, we'd be happy to help. But it's too late.
Okay. Okay,
What's this
So
for?
I will just give regrets to everybody I've talked to that's actually taken an interest in it.
somebody on Zoom was saying something.
Yeah, I don't
Robert.
know what you're talking about.
The
There-
parade,
There, go ahead, Matthew.
Well-
Yeah,
Memorial Day parade, right?
yeah, right,
Okay,
So to explain, is that Rob?
Yes.
yeah,
So Rob, apparently every other year between Shasberry and North Bennington, we host a Memorial Day parade prior to the Bennington Memorial Day Parade. And we
Okay.
just flip flop between the two towns. This year, without the participation of our fire department, it's become a bit harder to organize it. And so we've been struggling to get it together, especially with the time we have to do so.
thank you.
Yes, and perhaps much like, you know, the Winterfest and things like that, if the round table could help, it could be started months in advance,
mm,
and the folks in that round table seem to be excellent organizers.
yeah.
They are.
yeah, Better than
I'm
I
not
am,
sure
Yeah.
this is, I'm not sure that really is their prime focus.
right,
You
Well,
know,
the prime focus is community engagement.
Yeah, and this, yeah, to me, that, it does.
Yeah.
and
Block-
is
block party
Alan
and
McCullough on that committee?
I don't know who's on that committee,
I don't know.
but at any rate,
Okay,
it's something that,
The conversation can be had.
yeah, the conversation can be had. You're right.
I mean, you know, we could get Alan McCullough to do the readings.
Yeah. But those are all good pieces.
Yep.
To cobble together, but I take your point that with 2 weeks to go, it may be,
You know, if I've got to wait till the end of next week,
yeah,
you know, it's just like,
yeah,
mm,
well, that's hopefully not too disappointing for our residents, but
Well,
Your
if we
intentions
don't
were
advertise
good.
it, they're not
and-
going to
yes,
even know though.
Yes, and your intentions were good and the work that you put into it, we all thank you.
We've got enough jingoism. We're fine.
Well, I was going to temper the jingoism
Well, that would have
a
been
little
nice.
bit. Okay.
Okay, well, we are a little bit ahead of schedule now, but that's okay. We are gonna go to, actually, maybe not. Kim just came in. Kim, are you ready? We did talk about the adoption of the new zoning application.
Sure.
And the ones that the highway department uses.
And the fee schedule?
The fee schedule for the zoning permits. We did not talk about the subdivision. There is also, so trustees know, if you look at the website, there's an old application for subdivisions. I don't know if it's ever been used. Chris, I don't think you said you have ever seen one of those. And we're not gonna put that out now because there's going to be, when we talk about the land use and zoning regulation, there'll be some more detail on subdivision, so we're not gonna try to get an application out now that might not encompass what the regulation would be. So, but the ones we do, trustees did vote to do that, but that's the only part of the planning commission agenda we addressed, Kim.
Okay.
So, all yours.
There actually would be two more forms. One is subdivisions.
Yeah.
And plan unit developments.
Planned unit developments.
Well. PDUs.
Well, another application that I've never been able to track down, we're talking about certificates of completion.
Uh-huh.
And our bylaws say the applicant needs to submit an application for a certificate of completion. I've never
Occupancy.
seen an application.
Oh.
I
me
cannot
neither.
find an
I've
application.
never,
I've tried to get one from other communities and no one seems to have it.
It's really just a request
Yeah, well,
for the zoning administrator to come and,
correct, that's what Shasbury does, they have the person send a request.
yeah, a request.
I'm ready to complete my barn or garage or whatever.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
So planning commission?
Yes.
Okay. So staying on document adoption, Mary and I met with the BCRC new director of planning. His name is Nick Zayak, I think it's pronounced. And he had read both our municipal plan and our land use development regulations already in his first week.
yes.
Stunning.
And he said, I think he did 4 other municipalities.
Right. His assessment was that the documents were comprehensive. He had one misgiving, and that misgiving was our controversial telecommunications section.
Or what?
Telecommunications section. And he said that we should be prepared to pull back from that text when challenged to avoid being fined by the FCC. So we will proceed with the adoption as planned, and the planning commission will start to look at that text revision. We attempted to focus strictly on zoning related regulations of the telecommunications facilities. But we'll need to look at that again so we don't get ourselves in trouble. We also have to complete a document, an online document for the Agency of Commerce and Community Development with what's called a bylaw report. And it's extensive and onerous, and I've completed it. And BCRC has determined that it was satisfactory. So we're gonna go with that.
I will just interject that in typical Kim Hall fashion, he expounded on the content to a degree that BCRC said no one usually is as comprehensive as Kim's. So that should be well received as it goes through the process, so. thank you.
Expect from,
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me from what I looked at. That's amazing,
Thank you.
Yes.
amazing piece of work.
The planning commission will turn its attention to, has already started to turn its attention to short-term rental ordinance. Whether we need one or not is on the table. We have been discussing it, we've been discussing, the various aspects that different communities have adopted. There are a few points that I think we're agreeing upon, that some short-term rentals should be permitted. The impact to long-term rentals should be minimalized. The hosted and unhosted short-term rentals should be treated differently. And that hosted rentals need less regulation than unhosted short-term rentals. And that the administrative demands on the village should be minimal. Beyond that, I don't think we've got much agreed upon, but we're going to be working on that in subsequent meetings. We had text within the bylaws previously, and we'll revisit that. We pulled it out because we wanted to make it an ordinance rather than have it in the bylaws. The length is due June 1st. And I think it has to be adopted, does it not?
It does have to be adopted.
Which means it needs to be on an agenda and be warned and be adopted before June 1st.
For some reason, okay, oh gosh, I forgot. For some reason, I thought that was gonna be delayed, but no, you're right.
We need to have a special meeting before then.
You either need to be a special meeting or be late.
Yeah,
But I think it needs to be adopted.
it does need to be adopted. Now, we hate to do this, but you can always do a quick and dirty and just adopt what we've got with whatever quick revisions we can do. And then we can work on amending that in a different, I guess there's more time to do that as you go on. So we could, if we didn't want to be late, because does it affect the FEMA match
It
if you're
does.
late or if you don't have it at all?
I think for the interim, until you have it,
Yeah,
then you're running without insurance essentially.
So it's better
Well,
to put
there's-
something together than nothing.
my recollection was there's less of a match, but yes, it is better to have something rather than nothing. And we made some adjustments to the last year because like there were, I think, 2 or 3 things that were changed after it was published. And that got sent to BCRC and it seemed to be fine. But thank you. So we will have to, let me look at a calendar because we will have to get this in by June 1st. So that means that at some point,
May 28th is a Tuesday.
May 28th is a Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
May 27th is a Tuesday. That's day after Memorial Day. Are people available on May 27th? We could make it a very short meeting.
10-minute meeting.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a yes. Okay.
So
So,
this June 10th meeting that's noted in the agenda is incorrect. we needed before that. Okay,
Correct, there is a meeting on, okay,
and that's because of we want to obligate FEMA to
you get,
reimburse us
you
if
get
we have.
different, you get different amounts of the FEMA match if
Right.
you have things done.
Now, I think the length will be virtually identical.
It should be virtually identical.
Except for referencing the heat annex of the town of Bennington.
If they have done that, I don't know if they have officially
Well,
done
they
that.
went to the.
They went to,
select
they
board.
did, but the select board then, I recall the select board had a couple of questions.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know if it was officially done. We can look into that.
I don't know.
But we will have to have at least a Zoom meeting because we really should have the fire chief, who is our EMD, weigh in and get his opinion on some of these. So we'll have to get that done. Oh, okay.
The other, impending deadline is ethics training is due for all of the planning commission
Yeah.
as well as all of you. And the highway department and you, I mean, and
Yep, that's
virtually everybody.
that's on a to-do thing that we're gonna talk
It's a
about.
45-minute, online training
Yeah.
thing you have to do.
Yeah, and I had already looked into that with, I put that on a document that we were gonna look at.
I think
When is
we-
that due?
That's
It's from a
September
legislature
It's gotta be
that
fifth.
can't be
September.
bothered to actually have teeth in its own ethics.
So is that just a matter of sitting in front of a screen?
Yes,
listening to
and
what
we
they
can
say
do,
and
we
then
can
it's
do it,
certified?
but then you have to certify. So when I called the office, they
Just
said,
pass the paper, you just.
no, it's just a certification.
You just
as-
click through.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was told that we could view it as a group, committees could view it as a group. And that then each individual goes in and does their own online certification. Those certifications are then maintained by our clerk.
Right.
Some of this got sent out to
Our
people
clerk?
like months, yes. Yes, months ago, but we'll have to remind it. But yes, I do have that as a reminder to talk about tonight.
Okay, so that was
Okay,
all that I
but
had.
Len,
So we're not gonna do it on our own, we're gonna do it in groups, like the trustees are gonna do it, planning commission will sit
it
down.
is up to
Or it could be-
individuals.
Yeah.
I was
People
gonna
can
do it
do
on my
it on
own.
their
Oh,
own,
okay. So we
or
can-
they can do it, if you already have a meeting and want to do it, you can do it. If you don't, you just do it whenever you want.
So you haven't sent out the actual link for it yet, have you?
Yes,
Oh,
the link was on the information that got sent months ago when this first came out.
It's easily found.
Yes, and that can all be resent.
because I'll just do it.
I
Yes,
think we should send it to everyone that needs to have it completed, so him.
and then just tell
highway.
people to do it
Does
because,
water department have to do it?
yes. It is
Any official?
anybody who is appointed or elected.
Anyone who has.
Wait, does that mean the DRB then too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Appointed and
Oh,
elected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely, the DRB.
Okay,
Planning commission is kind of iffy because we don't,
you've been appointed. We do
we've been
appoint, yeah.
appointed, but we're advisory.
Yes. But
We don't make decisions, you make.
I will send out the same information that came out a couple months ago, and I'll send that out. But we'll talk about that, because if you don't want to do it as a group, you don't have to. The
I-
benefit of doing it as a group is you know everybody's there, and if one person has a question, likely somebody else has a question.
Yeah.
But that's just one more meeting for people to do, and with busy lives, sometimes it's easier for people to do it on their own.
Well, if you send out the link, I'm happy to go do it and just see, because all the trainings that I do, which are all not related to municipal things. It's like a 45-minute thing where you have to click through all the modules, and at the end it says, good, you've done it. So I don't know how we would do that as a group.
I don't know, when I called and talked to the gal, she said you absolutely can't do it as a group.
So what it might be is, we have the same things at the bank.
Yeah.
So it could be, like you say, you can go through it, but like if Mary's saying, everybody has to self-certify. So then so if you and I watch it together, each of us have to go in and say, we've watched it and we comply with what it told us.
Apparently, which I haven't done it yet, but she said there is a separate link after you do this, there's a separate link that you click on, and that's the certification. And it prints your certification, because our clerk needs to keep a
Or
copy.
maybe it's, you have to log in who's there.
Hmm.
You know
This
what I mean?
is
Like,
due
just
when?
say-
September,
September 20-something,
Yes.
25th maybe.
yes,
Better.
it's towards the end of September.
Yeah, this is very similar to the postal service stuff. So let's have a watching party and
Okay, we'll get issues out, but I'm more concerned that, that the Lent, because here, the month of May just went by. What should
y'all just froze up.
Yeah, it looks like it's on their end.
Yeah. Hello, anybody out there?
Recording stopped.
I texted him, Bob. We'll see if we get something.
I was starting to think that it was just divine intervention and then I could sneak out. But I'm in for an inch in for a mile, right?
Tara just said that they're aware of it and they're working on it.
Cool. Thank you.
There we go.
Here's the
Mary's thing is having some issues. I don't have this, I can't plug into my computer. I have an iPad. Sorry.
Well, let's see if
Hey,
that-
As long as you can hear us, Mary's computer's having some issues and Doug's getting on right now.
So you'll have to mute.
No, okay.
Could have plugged it in, Mary.
That's-
Yeah, right.
It froze. It didn't do what it needed to do.
Give me a
I
second.
see you. There you are.
I gotta switch to
Yeah,
the owl.
please connect. Okay, Al's on.
Okay.
Good.
All right, Matt, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're back in business.
Yes, so, yeah, I have a broken computer. Nothing's happening at all. Oh, good grief.
A lack of
Okay.
glass.
All right, so. We will hold a special meeting for the LEMP. Oh my gosh. And we will do that the last week of this month. Next thing, we did raise talking about the parade. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the projects, the upcoming list of projects, which, what did I just have that in my hand? So thank you. I was thinking that I only had this 1 year left in my term. Lori corrected me. I do not. I have one more after this.
Oh,
So, which means I guess I have to stick around.
I'm so sorry.
So, even so, there are a number of projects that have to be done. The first of this, and I sent this out before the last meeting, but then that went so long, we just deferred it. So I don't know if you had a chance to read this. I know at least Ray did, because Ray added, and I think it was the parade or something you added to the to-do list. The ethics training, we do have to look at this. I'll send that out to everybody. We'll just decide by majority vote whether people want to do it on their own or whether they want to do it as a group. And I'll have the whole list of everybody who has to complete this.
Right, and I think your best would be is if you set up a group, then if whoever can't have to do it on their
You
own,
know, that's a good idea, Doug.
because
Yeah.
then. If the
Yeah.
majority of the people can come during the day, but like I can't, then I have to do it on my own, something of that nature.
Okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that. We have our gray binders that's the policy manual, and every trustee has one. I do think at some point we need to, as onerous as it is, we have to sit down and go through that as a group. Because you read some of these things and your eyes glaze over if you're not sure what it is.
Right.
But those were done back years ago when I was still treasurer, and we should see if they are all still pertinent today. I believe they are. They were all recommended by VLCT at the time that we adopted them, but it's something we should do at least every couple of years. Same thing with the personnel manual. The water department is interested in sitting and having a working lunch and going through this. I'll schedule that before the end of the summer, but that's all I can promise. It'll be before, and then everybody can be invited to do that. It's a good document, but it's kind of lengthy and a little too wordy in some cases. The records retention, we did start that records retention, but that was only the first step. That was just identifying what we have to keep. Then how we keep it, where we keep it, how we identify it is a different matter. And the state archivist who helped initially go through this did offer some assistance when we're ready to do that. So it's overwhelming when you look at the detail of what we have to do. But the first thing is we need to get the right, we need to get cabinets to put things in, and then we have to identify how we're gonna keep them. Lori does a good job by putting everything in an accordion folder, and we keep that until the end of the year. But then you have to go through document by document to say which might need to be permanently kept or kept for a certain number of years, because much of those things, only once you're audited, then you can have a year or two, and then you throw them away. But it is overwhelming. So at some point, when you have nothing better to do, take a look through the various pages of records retention policy that we did probably a year and a half ago. But that's a big project. Jeff Gray and I met and looked at tree policy. If the village does nothing to adopt a separate tree policy, we just have to follow what the state requires. Months and months ago, I sent everybody what the state requires. Easy enough, we don't have to do any more, but The only downside to that is if we want to have a policy that Norm kind of talks to people about, and when a tree that is in the municipal right of way needs to come down, but it is on private property, you can have a shared cost agreement, but you have to have either a policy or an ordinance. And again, you get back to a policy is a nice document, but it doesn't really have a whole lot of teeth. An ordinance is the one that's enforceable. Do we even want to go there? I don't know. Jeff was uncertain.
What does the state say about that?
Uh,
Does it say anything?
doesn't.
Okay.
Doesn't,
so we would have to
completely
add-
silent.
Okay.
And when I've talked to people about it, and I've read a number of different municipal tree policies, most of which are bigger municipalities and things that don't even apply to us. But some of the bigger municipalities just basically bear it all as a municipal cost, which is a shared taxpayer cost. And we can do that. We can just keep adding in and up our tree removal budget. That's a thing, so something to think about. Again, not that it's easy for you to find, but I'll go back and send some of the documents that were previously sent out and we can look at that. A policy for use of municipal facilities. I started to look at this, easily a year or more ago. But we do have people that want to use either the park, the depot for something. And Lori asks them for a certificate of insurance, but we don't have a formal policy on it. And it's something that passive recommends.
Like a policy or a contract? Or both?
It's really a policy that says if you're gonna use municipal property, whatever it may be, here is what you have to do, and you have a whole little checklist. And it would be something that everybody would do. Right now, we leave it up to Lori to communicate and collect. But we don't ever say what happens to it. Once it's done, it's done. I really don't know, because I haven't looked back, but whether the records retention requires a certain time to save all of those agreements. I don't know. Road assessments. We only have 10 miles of road. Some people started several years ago when Norm had his surveys, his road surveys. Several people walked the roads and graded them accordingly. Might want to do this again, because we really are at a point, if we want to fix all the roads that we need to fix, we may have to consider a bond to do so. Because you do a little bit here and a little bit there, but
And by the time you're done, you have to go.
to do it again. And so it would be something just to talk about. I don't know the answer. By no means do I know the answer, but Norm has given it quite a bit of thought. And if we ever sat and had that discussion with him, I think he could come up with a good recommendation on what we want to do. But we really should have, here are all our 10 miles of roads, here's the condition, and here's what we want to do with them. Have a capital plan for roads like we do for our trucks. VLCT has lots of resources. We have never invited, to my knowledge, VLCT to come to one of these meetings and do some of their training, their board trainings. Lori does send out VLCT information, so if you've had a chance, every now and then they do publish something in there that they're doing training. But if there was ever a topic where an individual, or we felt as a board, we needed to know something more about, especially if we had newer members. It might be something to look and see what type of education as a group people think they need. Another thing I thought about is that storage building that's up on the corner of Depot Street. What are we doing?
The red barn. thing.
Yes, I don't know. It's only falling in on itself and the vines are taking over. I don't know. But
Is it historic? Is it?
I have no clue. Apparently it must have been. But Norm says it's got a great floor in there. But he says it's got a great floor. He says it's got these big, huge wooden beams and planks, and it's a very, very sturdy wooden floor. But I don't know what you do with it.
There's a long
It's not-
history.
Purpose, we might
Right.
invest in
Right,
cleaning the.
but what do you do with it? I mean, it costs about $2,000 is my recollection for us to lease the thing.
We lease it?
Yes,
We do lease it because the railroad was gonna tear it down and we opted to take it over. It was loaded with well, it was full of things that the previous leaser
Oh, yeah, okay.
and once we got possession of it, we were able to go in and empty it with the hopes of figuring out, as Mary says, what we're going to do next. But there was a feeling from, I think, the community that they didn't want to see this thing destructed, and the railroad was going to take care of it, just as they did the coal sheds next to it 20 years ago or so. But I guess we need Norm's input as to whether it's worth a continued commitment to that, because I agree, if we're not doing anything, we're just spending money.
and you know, I just had a thought. I wonder if the Vermont Preservation Trust Group could take a look at it and see if it would be anything that they might come up with a creative solution for.
I think that was already explored. There was a time where we thought we could have full possession of it and then develop it for any variety of purposes, farmers markets, or even businesses that could redevelop it, bakeries, whatever. And I think that the railroad has not signed off on that. They're like,
Okay,
you can have access to this, but we still own it.
okay.
So there's some
Kind of
exploit.
like this building here,
What's that?
kind of like this building here.
Yes, they own, they're the same entity that owns the train station. And this was one that they were gonna just get rid of because they didn't want the liability or whatever. And it had previously been occupied for maybe a 90-year lease in the same way with Mr. Nadu. And it was packed to the ceiling with various things. At which point he tried to, there was a whole, that's probably, well, it's on the record, but the sheriffs locked it up, and then he went in and cut a hole through the back of it to acquire the things that were of importance to him. And then we got possession, and it was a bit confrontational. And then Norm went in and I think cleaned out much of what was in there.
Mm.
But it still just sits there. I mean, we did some work to, shore it up. That building had a fire in it, 30, 40 years ago. So the whole inside is charred up to the roof. But I think the roof is now, intact. It'd be a great space, but our hands are tied a bit about what we can do with it. So whether we should be paying $5,000 a year to
Yeah.
to own it just because we want it not to be torn down is another question.
So maybe it's something that if we could figure out some way to do a public citizens, meeting of some sort, maybe at an annual meeting, throw out the question.
When we take a picture of it and ask Facebook.
Who knows?
I know that Bob Howe of it was always wanted, it to not disappear. And but again, we're renting other space, right? At
Yeah.
this time. And you can't just store equipment in it because it's up on a ramp and it's up high, but it's an important building historically, I suppose, with the big marble blocks and the but yeah, you're right, Mary. It's a big old question mark hanging over the village. What
I
to
mean,
do.
if it's just deteriorating,
Yep.
I don't know.
Do we also lease this building?
Yes.
We leased this building for $1.
$1.
That might have changed.
I know there are two separate leases that we have. One is this building and one is the other one. There is something for $1, but then there are two other charges. And they're both in the vicinity of $2,000. But they're two separate things.
So I think one is the empty lot that is now a parking lot for the people that live across the street where the coal sheds used to be.
Okay,
And on the sign, if you look up on the wall by the front door where you are now, there's those signs hanging that
Yeah.
mark together. And those used to be the signs on that building that showed the different types of coal that was in each bin of that building. See what I'm talking about? Little plaque.
Yeah. Rice coal, blue chestnut,
Yep.
etc.
Yep.
interesting.
So we took over the use of that space, but we do not own it. The railroad does. So we probably pay $2,000 for that and maybe $2,000 for the building that we speak of. And then from an old contract, we pay $1 for this building.
See, these are the type of things that we should have in our records and identifiable and something that you could put your hands on. So probably as we go through those boxes of old stuff upstairs, we're likely to come across it.
Maybe.
Because those are permanent records, but where? Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, well, interesting. And then the last thing on my list was to look at website maintenance and, the young lady who does our maintenance is very, very good about putting things out there. This is just so not my forte. I don't know, but I know Lucy had mentioned something about having to rework the whole thing.
She talked to me a little bit about it.
Good.
She said she
I don't
wanted to get off
understand
of-
it, so
She
hopefully
wanted to
you
get
do.
off of the platform that it's on right
Yeah,
now.
it's a Squarespace.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
move to a different one.
Okay,
That would be easier to navigate.
okay,
But she also mentioned that if she does that there might be a cost incurred.
Oh,
Yeah.
which is fine. I'm less worried about the cost
Yeah.
than more about the usability and the way to maintain that and to keep going. There's another resident who said she is going to meet with me with the planning commission to teach us how to do some kind of a calendar, to do some interactive calendar. It goes right over my head. I don't know.
Me too.
But I also don't want to commit myself or anybody here or a future trustee with having to do website work or maintenance if there's a better way to do it, and I don't know. So I'm looking for suggestions and help and guidance and best practice. So things to think about.
Yep.
No, nothing needed tonight, just things to think about. Okay, we are slightly over our time.
And we have an executive.
We have an executive session, so I'm going to make a motion to enter executive session to discuss one legal issue, one personnel matter. There will be one decision that is made as we exit the executive session. But I can't put anybody
I should be able
on
to.
hold because my screen is dead.
Yeah, he should really do it.
So moved for the executive.
Thank you. And all in
Right, thank
favor,
you.
aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay, don't,
We're
let
not
me-
doing
yep,
anything
let me,
until
yeah,
Doug
because,
says we're ready to go.
right, because I took
And
this
then-
over, so I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out.
And then we'll have to see if our other participants are still here.
Is it easier for me to just bid you adieu so that you don't have anybody outside? I don't
Hopefully,
mind.
yes, Bob.
Okay. Well, you guys, thank you very much for letting me sit in.
Yes, thank you.
Alrighty, bye-bye now.
And Robert, are you still?
No,
with
he
us?
left. I'm
Okay.
just trying to figure out for some reason it's not
About
letting me
Kat.
put Cat in the waiting room.
Bob and Harris.
Bob Maderos is a resident on Madison.
All right, I think I'm going to have to remove Cat. I can't, for some
Okay.
reason, I can't get them.
Okay, well, we'll just.
Hold on,
let-
wait, let me. Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Nope, it's not letting me.
Oh, the house on which side?
I'm going to close my computer when you do that.
Yeah, it's sort of wooden, so you can't see it. Yeah, that was built.
Tara, do you still have, are you still logged in?
Yeah.
Can you see if you're able to put Cat TV in the waiting room? Maybe you are actually the primary. Cause I can't, it normally it comes up and it says put in waiting room,
You know,
and I'm not getting that.
I knew them, originally they lived across the street from me.
All I have is ask to unmute, ask to start video. I don't have.
And
put
then
it in
the
waiting room.
house,
Let me see if there's a
whole
difference
house and
down below.
that divorced.
Um,
They moved away after he left the CDPS.
Why is Cat TV saying that they're the
They got
host?
divorced.
What?
Oh, it does say their host.
How did that happen?
Probably because you got kicked off and they were still there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, but how did it default to?
Okay, so